tell the stories of innovators and people doing things differently in the Niger Delta. My name is Benny, and welcome to Conversation with Innovators. Our guest today is a multi-potentialite. She's a visual artist and a social entrepreneur. She is the inventor of Cream Aglow Phototherapy Unit and the founder of Tiny Heart Technology. Cream Aglow Phototherapy Unit is a neonatal jaundice unit. She is the winner of Johnson & Johnson African Innovation Challenge, an awardee of the Unilever Young Entrepreneurs Award and Mandela Washington Fellow. She came tops at the Sterling Bank Startup Pitch Contest, top 5 of the BET6, finalist of the Spindle Innovation Awards in the Netherlands, American Business Council Digital Innovation Competition, NESG, and other several awards because of the impact she has made in infant healthcare. Mrs. Virtue Oboro. Yay! A round of applause to you.
Thank you for having me.
Your profile is very intimidating.
Oh, well.
I don't know if to stand up and,
Oh well, I think that it's not intimidating. I think it's a reflection of impact
that you have made so far.
Yes.
I would like to know how your childhood was. Your sister is a very accomplished biologist. I know so.
Okay.
And yes, you are a globally recognized innovation. So what was your growing up like? What lessons did you learn growing up that made you the woman that you are today?
Wow. I grew up in a very strict and religious family.
Okay.
I'm one of the kids you describe as the ones that live within the 4 walls of their parents' compound. We weren't really allowed to go out, explore life. We were always indoors. But then, growing up to the point of teenage, where I had to secure an admission into the university, I preferred to school outside and away from home.
Where you grew up, yeah?
Yes, because I wanted to explore. I wanted to see what life was like alone as a young girl, as a teenager, as an adolescent. I wanted to see everything. So here I am, all the 4 walls. I broke everything. I ran away and I explored,
and here you are.
I'm here.
So there's this saying that purpose is birthed in pain. And you had this very, should I say, painful experience that birthed Tiny Heart Technology and the Cream Aglow units. Can you talk about the experience that you had?
Okay, so while I didn't go through pain personally,
yes,
it was an experience that I believe many mothers have also experienced.
Okay.
So while I was pregnant, I went for antenatal classes, and you know how nurses would talk about everything that you go through during pregnancy and childbirth and how you need to take care of your kids and all of that. I learned a lot. I'm a Google mom. I go to Google, I read about Google moms. Google, ads about childcare and pregnancy. Baby Center was my go-to place. And so there's something I experienced after childbirth that nobody told me about. The nurses didn't, no doctor told me, Baby Center didn't tell me because I didn't search for it.
Yeah.
So my son had a yellow coloration in his eyes and his skin was yellowish also. Wow. But it didn't look to me like there was anything wrong with him. I called him a fair baby. I'm like, oh, my baby is fair. He looks like his grandma, because my late grandmom is a very fair person. But then my mom came in and she's like, look,
there's something wrong.
Your baby is not just fair. He has yellow eyes, skin is yellow, and he's sleeping for longer hours of the day. And all these are symptoms of jaundice. And then I'm like, jaundice? Mommy, don't worry, it's okay, he'll be fine. You know, a lot of we young moms,
Yes.
we like to tell our mothers that we know, I've gone to Google, I've searched, I've asked the
trivialize
doctor.
their knowledge.
Exactly. So, and my mom she retired as a senior nursing officer. So, I mean, she had every right to tell me that. So, we had to go back to the hospital. On the way back to the hospital, I decided to go to my go-to place, which is Google and Baby Center to check what jaundice in newborn babies felt or looked like or what it could do. And then I discovered that if a baby is not treated for jaundice as soon as possible, the baby could, face dire consequences like mental retardation and cerebral palsy, kernicterus, or even death. So, kernicterus is a kind of brain damage. And, there are other complications, but then it made me panic.
And how long had your baby stayed before?
48 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
48 hours. So we got to the hospital, a government hospital, and they said, your baby's jaundice is really high. And at that time, he had not stooled. He had not passed any stool. And eventually, they diagnosed him of high, severe neonatal jaundice. But then there was no phototherapy unit available for him. I remember calling on all the doctors I knew personally to see if they could find me a space. I imagined that it was a bed space he just needed. I didn't realize that it was an equipment that he needed, or a medical device that he needed to be placed under to, for treatment to commence. So I called on all the doctors I knew, and they came around, they were checking. You can't take another baby outside a phototherapy unit because you want to put another baby in. I mean, it's not right. It doesn't make sense.
And two babies can't share a unit.
Two babies cannot share a unit. It's not right for two babies to share a unit because because of the build of those phototherapy units, two babies cannot share because one baby can stay just inside the bassinet, and that's all that the bassinet can take. Yeah, so I practically gave up, and I was crying and walking, pacing around the long corridor of that neonatal intensive care unit. I was pacing around. I remember my tummy was still big, was bulging, like I was still pregnant, because that was 48 hours after birth. And you know how people want to tie tummy. I couldn't tie my tummy to the hospital. I was still in pain. So eventually, the doctor said, we have a space for you because a mother has signed against admission and we are taking her baby off phototherapy. So while I was supposed to be concerned that a baby had been taken off phototherapy treatment, I was also happy that my baby would find one to use. So treatment commenced for him, and that's like the part one of my experience. The part two of my experience was the phototherapy treatment itself. In the course of those 7 to 8 days when my son was under the phototherapy unit, we realized that his temperature remained constantly high, and the doctors were fighting to bring down his temperature because the light bulbs were too hot. Yeah, so his temperature was always rising high, and then he started, they started treating him for malaria because at some point the jaundice got high and it was too high for them to just start phototherapy unit. So they had to cut his navel, drain his blood off, and give him new blood. And that process is called exchange blood transfusion. So yeah, after the exchange blood transfusion, because he was given another person's blood, they had to treat him for malaria. This is a 48-hour-old baby. 48 hours. Still very fragile, still thriving, and trying to find a vein, pricking him several times. It's traumatizing for every mother, no matter how strong a mother wants to be or is. It was traumatizing for myself and even for him, even though he cannot remember anything.
As a baby,
yes. So my story is long, but then let's stop here. That experience was not a sweet one.
So now, how did you now decide to go into inventing a unit for tiny heart technology, the Kriba Glow phototherapy unit?
Yes. So I remember asking a doctor friend of mine. His name is Dr. Austin Adigite, and I asked him. I said, "Doctor, are you telling me that there's no other sustainable way of running a phototherapy unit without relying on electricity and, suffering from trying to find veins in baby's skin to pass a line, pass tubes. I feel like it's a simple process, exposing the skin of the child to a bright blue light. Why do you have to connect or pierce the baby severally and all of that? So, as a doctor and a friend, he explained the entire process to me. And I said, you know what? There's no point struggling to bring down the temperature of the baby when you can actually solve the problem from the cause, not the symptom. So why not find a light that is not hot like the bulbs that were in use? I asked him and he said, well, it's possible, but we don't have them around. I think if you try it, it can work. Look, oh my God, this man needs to encourage you. No, he encouraged. He said it's possible, but really those lights weren't around. At the time. So I worried. First, I was afraid that, look, I'm a visual artist. What am I doing with a medical innovation? I didn't even call it an innovation at that point in time. I just felt it's a problem I want to solve. I didn't know what innovation was at that time. So we started off with very crazy prototypes and all of that. But Dr. Austin, who is my friend, he played a very huge role in encouraging me to ensure that unit came to life. Yeah, so that's how the Crib and Glow innovation came about. Identifying the problems, innovating around it, and implementing the solution.
How large is the distribution network?
So our distribution network is direct and indirect. We distribute through distributors. These distributors are medical logistics companies, hospital equipment suppliers, donor agencies. So we have some NGOs and other donor agencies who just want to buy to give out. They are also a channel. Then we have an online platform on our website where you can just click and pay for a Crib and Glow unit. That's how we've leveraged on distribution channels. Oh, yes, we also work through primary community health workers. These people are always in the rural areas or in semi-urban areas, and they play a major role in maternal and infant health. So we have a network among them. Whenever they identify a jaundiced baby, they call. If the primary health care center does not have a Crib and Glow unit there, they can always rent. And you see, renting it is so cheap because it's affordable. We made sure that the unit is affordable was and is affordable for middle and low income earners. So in communities, neighboring communities, the average communities in Nigeria, it's easy to afford.
And it's very portable too.
It's possible, it fits. You can collapse it and it fits into a bag. You can carry about 5 of them at once. You can carry them. One is like 5 kg.
Oh wow, that's like
5 kg. So it's the distribution channels and then the weight and the portability of the device have a connection. If it's not easy to carry, then our distribution channels will be reduced because not everyone wants to carry a very heavy equipment, a bulky equipment. So we have to make sure that it's affordable, portable, and accessible to these communities.
So now looking at statistics, it says that it shows that jaundice occurs in about 50% of full-term babies and 80% of preterm babies.
You're right.
And now part of what your foundation does is to sensitize mothers in rural areas about the effects of jaundice. So how effective in preventing jaundice and also in reducing the fatalities has your sensitization been so far?
First, I would applaud you. You've done your homework. The way you're talking about these statistics, like 50%, 80%, like boom, boom. So we have a project called the Yellow Alert Project. The Yellow Alert project is not for profit.
Yeah.
And then Tiny Hearts is a social enterprise, but it's for profit.
Okay.
So Tiny Hearts funds the Yellow Alert. We go to communities across Nigeria. We are not really prominent in the north because of proximity to those communities, but we have reached the west, the south, and the east. And then we are here in the Niger Delta, so we're able to reach more people. I'll give you an incident. We went to drop off a Crib Glow unit at a community in Okolobri here in Bayelsa, and when I walked into the facility, at that time I used to do the deliveries myself. I walked into the facility and I met a lady. She was carrying a bag of sachet pure water, and she looked really helpless. She was just looking at me. And the nurse said, "Okay, madam, that's the lady. You can talk to her." So she came to me and in fact, what I went to do was to pick up a unit from there. But then the nurse said the woman should talk to me. So when the woman opened up, she wanted to start talking to me, but she broke down and started crying. She said, "Madam, please help me. My baby, you need to help me. My baby, I can't pay for the SF." Excuse me, madam. I turned to the nurse. I said, "You know that this unit is supposed to be accessible to these people. If there's a situation like this, even if she cannot pay at that time, just talk to me, call me, or call us. We have means of funding some of such vulnerable babies." At that time, that baby was already going close to the complications of untreated jaundice. I think his back or his neck was beginning to arc. He was going there gradually. And the nurse said she was sorry that she didn't know if it was ethically right for her to, just give it out for free without our permission, or give it without our permission. I said, yes, that's the reason why you should just let us know. That's the process. And that woman the mother was able to access the Crib Glow unit for her child. When I asked for the back end story, they said she kept trying to use herbs to treat the baby at home, including her husband. So they didn't know better.
Yes.
This is why the Yellow Alert project is positioned in communities, rural, especially rural and inaccessible communities, so that we can sensitize, talk to these women about essential newborn care, neonatal jaundice, the signs, the symptoms, and the causes and the treatment
and the complications.
I mean, everything about neonatal jaundice. We tell these women. Some of them find it hard to believe. Some of them can just connect. They're like, "Oh, now waiting killed on my first speaking with that." Yes, that's what a lot of them. Some of them. I met a group of men in Lagos, and one of them said, "You know what? I want to support this cause because I have 3 daughters. My only son had jaundice, and we tried to treat him with herbs, and he died. My son is not alive today because I didn't know much about jaundice and how to care for a jaundice baby, what to do." And it touched me, and I made up my mind that, look, even if it's not, if I don't have money to carry out this sensitization program, I'll go with my loudspeaker and keep shouting about it like I'm preaching the gospel of Jesus. So I'm doing it because I know there's a likely possibility that a baby will die if a mother does not know about neonatal jaundice.
Thank you so much for all you do. Thank you so much. I'm sure that a lot of mothers out there must have saved their children with the knowledge that you have shared. Yeah. So now this takes me to the several awards you have won, your competitions, because of your innovation. So you have entered into several competitions and you have won several awards. So which of these experiences is most memorable and why?
So every one of my awards is, I think all my awards are memorable. However, the first award I won is the one I remember the most.
What's the award?
It's the Diamond Bank B86.
Okay.
That's like the smallest. I'll call it the smallest because it was Nigerian, it wasn't global. But why I remember it is because I didn't expect to win. I was pregnant. I was always embarking on trips from Bayelsa to Lagos so I can meet up with my 50 other colleagues who were also competing for the winning positions. And at some point, I was hearing the turnover that some of my colleagues were making. And I said, God, am I in business? What am I doing? But towards the end of the class, I remember the director of the EDC gave, his name is Banky. So we had a class and he said that when your business solves a problem, then there's a higher possibility that your business will thrive and you are going to make more impact and money. And I raised my hand. I said, I want to ask a question. And I told him, I said, sir, let me tell you about my business. I told him about my business and the kind of feedbacks, the encouraging feedbacks he gave me. It was feedbacks of hope and positivity. And all my classmates, some of them who knew that, look, this lady has not really been encouraged all along. She feels like, some of them look at me and say, you see, I told you. I told you were going to make it. I told you that your business, I told you were doing the right thing. Because I doubted myself at that point because I was just starting. I needed different levels of validation. And at that point, I think I got my first. It was my first experience of validating what I was doing. So yeah.
And you having a young family, being a young mom, having a thriving business, and of course your innovation, the foundation, everything, you must have paid a huge cost. So what cost are you paying or have you paid for the success that you have?
Okay, thank you. While you were asking the question, I remember when I was in the US for the Mandela Washington Fellowship and I got a call from home that my daughter had an iron door had closed on my daughter's hand and they said she had cut her finger.
Wow.
But it wasn't that bad. Her finger didn't cut. It was a wound. And I was afraid. I imagined my daughter's finger dangling like this. That's what I was just imagining. I was just crying. I'm like, why did I have to travel? These are the prices we pay. When you have to make long trips, you have to go very far, you have to stay for long, you have to leverage on opportunities, you have to travel wide to go and receive an award. If you don't go, I mean, there's no excuse. You can't say you're not going. Isn't that why we are in business? Isn't that why we are innovating and impacting to ensure that we get to the global space? So having a supportive spouse has always been a plus for me. My husband is also a co-founder of Tiny Heart Technology. So when I'm not there, he's there. When he's not there, I'm there. I'm the one. You always see my face, but there are people who work behind the scene, like my husband and the entire team. My partner has played a huge role in that. Then my kids, having understanding kids. I don't know if there's anything like understanding kids. I'm not sure.
Okay, let them into your business.
Yes, they understand, but they want more. They're just not saying it. So it has not been an easy ride. Being pregnant and just giving birth. The whole of that phase is like a year and 6 months. Early pregnancy, nausea, and all of that. You come to work and you're emotionally unstable, nausea, you're throwing up.
And you had that 3 times.
And I had that 3 times.
Yes.
This last one was like the most challenging one because I went through like different phases of recovery. I had to recover. I recovered like 3 times, guys. So when I came out of the baby blues and all of that, I realized that look, there's actually there's need for a balance
True.
between home, my life, and business. So I'm learning that phase, trying to balance everything, because at some point one has had to suffer. It has been like this, just like this.
But
Never this.
True.
So I'm trying to balance it now.
Yeah. So guys, that was Virtue Oboro, Mrs. Virtue Oboro. So join me again same time next week for another exciting episode of Conversation with Innovators. Bye-bye.